Welcome to the BAM Bibliophile. My name's Bailey, and you have come across a dusty-ass corner of the internet. Beware! Your allergies may flare up, but before you get into a sneezing fit, let me share with you my December wrap-up. I just wanted the last month of 2023 to be a fun one for reading. Give me the laughs, give me the gore, give me the blushies, and it delivered. I started with The Lost Library, a middle grade mystery about an unexplained little free library that's constructed in the dead of the night by an unknown source. Not only is its origin enigmatic to the townspeople, but it's also overseen by a cat named Mortimer. 11-year-old Evan takes 2 books from its shelves and is soon thrust into a mystery surrounding the little free library and a tragic event from the town's past. I describe The Lost Library as a love letter to books and their readers. It's a heartwarming exploration of the power stories hold and the librarians who act as conduits to said stories. At the end of the day, this felt like a hug that offered sentiments I think all of us bookworms can get behind. One idea put forth is that the most important relationship people can have to books is one where people feel something for what they read. It's about allowing stories to speak to us on a deeper level rather than trying to elevate our status as readers by reading a ton of books or professing that our reads are more sophisticated than someone else's. It's the mere experience of being touched by words on paper that makes someone a great reader. Because The Lost Library is middle grade, the main mystery is somewhat easy to guess, and the story's emotional pull might feel a little surface level, but make no mistake, the ideas and themes are deep. There are messages here about life's mysteries, living on your own terms, and the way books can shape our lives. It made me nostalgic for the libraries of my childhood and reminded me why I became a librarian in the first place, which is to say I want to share stories with young people in meaningful ways. I picked up How to Be a Supervillain because I just wanted some good-natured fun. We follow Victor, a descendant of supervillains. Naturally, his family expects him to continue the family legacy, but Victor doesn't fit into the supervillain mold. He has manners, eats his vegetables before having dessert, and just can't bring himself to run with those scissors. In an attempt to make a supervillain out of Victor yet, his parents ask the Smear to take Victor on as an apprentice. Problem is, the Smear is a disgraced supervillain who has just now been allowed to make a comeback after decades of being sidelined. A good chunk of this book is told in comic strips mixed with traditional text, a little like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and I'm not afraid to say that I was pretty amused. Just picture this, okay? Middle-aged men and women are apprenticing young heroes and villains, but their super abilities are making stains, playing the tuba, and tickling their victims. I don't know how this couldn't make you smile. How to Be a Supervillain is a very self-aware work that pokes fun at the genre and recognizes how absurd its own plot is. All the fights between the villains and heroes are scripted because of the genuine damage the combatants were causing to people and property. But the supers go along with it because they still want adoration and to remain relevant. The alternative to turning in their cape is making socks. And they certainly can't have that. The pacing could get a little clunky, but my rule of thumb when reading this was, just go with it, Bailey. And with that kind of attitude, the book could do me no wrong. I was really in the mood for novellas this month, so I picked up The Visitor. If you think about it, Christmas is meant to be ruined. If it's not at the hands of argumentative, aggressive relatives, then why not by killer aliens? Make it not make sense. I dare you. During a dangerous snowstorm, 5 strangers find refuge in a small roadside diner. As the weather worsens, a sinister 6th visitor is on the way with an intention that will turn the 5's Christmas crimson red. I read most of this book at night by the light of my Christmas tree, and the ambience was chef's kiss. I describe this book to people by telling them that it's like Predator's cousin if he was a short film set during the holidays. The beginning and ending were the strongest to me, and I think it's because those are the moments we get the most interaction between the characters and they don't feel just like a body count that's there to rack up during a slasher. Humanizing people and giving me a reason to care about them once they become casualties is what makes horror most effective for me, but that's just a preference. Once the diner setting is left behind, I think this book really started to grip me. I was getting genuinely anxious to see where the story would go, and I appreciated the angle the author took. For the most part, you're following the people from the diner, but then you suddenly get the perspective of the visitor, aka the alien, and learning about its backstory and motive elevated this exponentially for me, even though it was such a small part of the novella. It just goes to show that the little details can go a long way. I don't know if there are multiple editions of this book, and I read a newer one, but I'm honestly flabbergasted by the negative reviews of The Visitor on Goodreads. A number of them offer genuine criticism in a polite way, but some are just rude, alluding to the novella being an embarrassment, and at least one comes after the author's friends and family who encouraged him to publish the novella. Apparently they were supposed to tell Sergio this was garbage and should never have seen the light of day. But you know what they say. One man's trash is another man's treasure. You don't have to tear someone down because you have a different opinion, and I think that goes without saying, but clearly the discussion is one we'll still be having until the end of time. I love humanity. After that horror, I just wanted something really sweet, so I ended up buying Mistletoe and Mishigas. This fellow Sheldon, who's transferred to a new school right before Thanksgiving, and it's while he's setting up his new classroom that he meets the custodian, Theo. Even though they don't immediately mesh, the two realize they have something to offer each other. They both need fake dates. Sheldon's ex-boyfriend's getting married on Christmas Eve, and Theo needs to fend off his parents who are pushy about finding him a husband. They're coming for Hanukkah, and proving that he has a boyfriend might keep Theo's folks at bay. Of course, one thing leads to another, and the characters are forced to wonder if this fake dating situation could lead to something more. I appreciated how different these love interests are from one another. Theo's big, quiet, and comes from a loving family, while Sheldon's small, talkative, and estranged from his parents. The two find ways to meet each other where they're at, acknowledge their distinct qualities, and uplift each other's insecurities. Theo believes his weight and build make him unattractive, while Sheldon's been made to feel like he needs to hide his true self because he's too much of a pill to swallow. I loved the messages that you're sexy even if your body doesn't look like a model's, and that being true to your identity in the face of adversity is a path worth taking. Never feel like you're too much. The truth is that people's hearts and minds are too little. Them. This is a story about overcoming your fears, doubts, and haters, and it's also about the importance of family, both biological and the kind we make for ourselves. If you're into low-stress fake dating stories, the hurt, comfort trope, and a genuinely beautiful love story, I highly recommend this one. Next, I read On Memory, which is an illustrated short story about a university student attempting to track down a Christmas film that traumatized her as a child. This seems like an impossible task, and maybe, just maybe, the film is better left in obscurity. I don't want to say too much for fear of spoiling anything, but I will admit this was a bizarre little thing. If you want to collect Christmas horror like I do, this is really nice to have in your collection, but there's something about it that felt a little lacking. Part of me wishes it was more thrilling or suspenseful, but another part recognizes that it did a relatively good job of unsettling me, especially after a certain someone reaches out to the main character with information regarding the untraceable film. That individual really stole the show for me, but ultimately left me with far more questions than answers. If you want something that's quick, weird, and going to give you chills at the end, but you don't mind ambiguity, then this could be the fix you're looking for. It's funny because I was literally discussing with Christian how time isn't linear, and then I read this book not 12 hours later. Coincidence from the universe? I leaked out. Next up is Candy Cane Kills, another horror novella of the slasher variety with a queer subplot. In the 90s, a remote cottage was the site of a family massacre during the holiday season, and fast forward to Christmas 2005, and Austin and his sister Fiona are dragged by their parents to the same cabin in the name of bonding. Little did they know Candy Cane is still there waiting for fresh blood. The seasonal horror I read this month, Candy Cane Kills, had the most heart. I quickly began to care for the parents, and my heart bled over their struggling marriage. The way they relentlessly nitpicked each other and repeatedly chose obstinance over grace, but ultimately felt in their hearts that they wanted to get back to a place of love, felt so genuine to me. But you know how it goes, slashers are open season on everyone, and this one, well, it went there. The novella had so many fun elements it played with. For starters, I loved how the kids found a camcorder, which sent the reader on flashbacks to 1995. Candy Cane Kills was campy with gruesome kills that had my jaw dropping. There's a religious fanatic spin, VHS nostalgia, a delicious wintry backdrop, and an intriguing backstory to the legendary killer. My only gripe is that at some point the kills were one right after the other, and they lost their effect on me. I need humanization before you stab someone. Pretty please. Lastly, I read Talk Santa to Me. Frankincense was born into a family who owns a holiday-themed store and runs a Santa school, so Christmas joy runs in her veins. When her Aunt Carol tries to change the family business, it's up to Francie to preserve the magic of Christmas. Combined with trying to save up for a car and angling to kiss the cute boy who works in the tree lot next door, our protagonist has her work cut out for her. This was the most festive Christmas book I read this season, and it transported me back to the feeling of holidays being infused with an intangible magic. Talk Santa to Me was very real in its discussions of commercialism, which often overpowers the good the season can do. There was also a powerful discourse on Santa. When I talk to adults about mall Santas, they often describe them as creepy men who get to hang out with children all day. And I think that this is a really common narrative, but this book gave me a completely different perspective. No matter if they're visiting schools, hospitals, or malls, they have the opportunity to keep magic alive, and some of the greatest magic they can impart is actively listening to children and giving them their unbridled attention. Having a genuine conversation and making them feel seen in a fast-paced world is powerful, and I guess I want to say that this book went deeper places than I ever expected it to. I just thought I was gonna get a cute romance, but the romance was actually secondary to the rest of the story. And can I just say that this guy reminds me a little bit of Tom Welling? Tell me I'm not losing it, please. Let me know what your favorite book of December was down below, and I'll see you next time.